Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to Soul September, where throughout the month of September, we've been listening to different soul albums, and today we are going to close out this series with a pretty monumental album, one of the biggest albums of the 2000s, and one of the biggest soul albums of the modern times, and that, of course, being D'Angelo's 2000 record, Voodoo. Now, in our last video, if you were following along, you would have seen we covered Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun, which came out the same year as Voodoo and is often considered by many to be a sister album to that of Voodoo, which makes it for a very compelling and interesting listen because even though they are not, they're not the same artist and they are not even, as far as I know, in the same circles, it is interesting to me that they both released a pretty monumental album for soul in the same year, just months apart, that to many have a lot of similarities. I'm wondering how this will play in comparison to that because I really enjoyed Mama's Gun. I thought it was a fantastic listen with some beautiful production from Dilla and Questlove, as well as a few other, pretty incredible, talented, and timeless producers. However, unlike Mama's Gun, it seems like this album is produced mostly by D'Angelo himself. So I'm very much looking forward to the sound that he brings to soul. Let's not waste any more time though. It's 13 tracks with an hour and 18-minute runtime, so it is quite a lengthy project. Kicking it off, we've got Playa Playa. Keep in mind, I've never listened to D'Angelo before, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to offer. Really ominous intro here. Interesting intro, very like a sense of reverse there. Slowly turn that volume up. Kind of funky. I like these vocals. Is he self-harmonizing here, it sounds like? Certainly delving a little bit more into that traditional funk sound. Kind of adds a lot of sex appeal to it too. This one's so clean, a very subtle instrumentation too. Nothing is kind of overblowing anything here. A lot of it feels very subtle. I like those ad-libs in the background there. Is that D'Angelo in the back? That like vocoder or something on him? Our bassist there, Pino Palladino. Very groovy. Really nice bass lines. And a drummer, Amir Thompson here. Just a gentle kind of simmer. And there's Roy Hargrove on those horns. Oh, a beautiful coalition of talent here. Super funky, super groovy. Very easy and kind of laid back too. And full of subtleties. Really like eerie, kind of simmering outro here. Kind of a slight jazz feel to it. Really good blend of jazz, funk, and soul. Very low key. Very eerie, this track too. Really strong atmosphere. great intro. Ending where we began. Let's flow into Devil's Pie. Smooth transition. Really evil sound to this record so far. I guess that matches the Voodoo tone. Full of mystique. He's got a very nice, smooth voice. Very dialed back. Really punchy drums on this one too. Still Amir Thompson. Oh, DJ Premier on production with this one. Lots of sample work as well. Raekwon and Fat Joe, notable names. That cycling, squeaky sample, it sounds like. Really eerie. Adds a lot to that atmosphere. Oh. Oh. There's Raekwon there. Oh, I love the hip-hop elements throughout this record. Sampling some legends there. Just wanting a slice of that Devil's Pie. Perhaps taking a slice of sin. Indulging, perhaps, in these vices. Super punchy, some hard claps. Honestly, a great hip-hop fusion with some kind of classic soul elements. And that record kind of being spun out. And let's transition. That's a great track as well. Let's go into Left and Right with both Redman and Method Man. Two legends in the game, especially for 90s hip-hop. Ooh, that transition from Redman to Method Man. It's nice hearing him rap, you know, because I feel like Method Man's known for his very unique voice. And he does a lot of hooks, a lot of choruses. It's nice hearing him spit, because he's a great rapper. Certainly has that early 2000s funk sound that was so prevalent. I feel like this was very much just kicking off that wave. Like Outkast and unfortunately even Black Eyed Peas kind of dominating this funk hip hop sound back then. Love D'Angelo's voice. So beautiful. So soft. And with his cultural references. The king, I feel like, of cultural references in hip-hop. It's got to be Method Man. He does them so smoothly, so nonchalantly. Here's the line. Let's keep it going. Really great grooves on this record. Didn't expect such a kind of hip-hop focus for this one. certainly has that soul flair on that vocal. I love how he's singing and kind of just floating on these beats, you know? You'd expect a rapper kind of spitting bars on these kind of down-tempo lo-fi beats. Instead, you get gorgeous singing. He's got like a whole tough guy demeanor on this track here. I think people were talking shit about him and now he's kind of airing it out, perhaps. I love how just like down tempo a lot of these beats are too. Like they're so groovy. They remind me a lot of kind of like Dilla back then. They're very like thick sounding, very mellowed out. Not like overly complicated either, but so smooth. The line is another great one where he seems to be flexing in a way, in a soft way. Let's go on to Send It On. Ooh. And these horns too remind me of like a lot of those 60s, 70s soul records. Roy Hargrove. Great addition to the track is those horns. And these slow tracks too are so sensual. Kind of intoxicating. Kind of reminds me of like a more chilled out Prince. I think more so in the vocal department, the higher pitch. Also remind me of Stevie Wonder a lot. The influence is definitely there. Really great tracks back to back. Oh. That punch. Ooh. That rattling of the drum. Oh. That long, drawn out sort of cymbal there. Oh my god, we're getting funkier. Our bass line is getting really funky here. And like that, whatever that weird kind of flangy guitar is. Oh my goodness. Really capturing an energy. Oh my god. Honestly, really capturing, I would say, the energy of a Stevie Wonder. Such a commanding charisma and energy. It's like this subtle percussion. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. And then you're hit with these explosive moments like we've been getting throughout this track, where you just like knock back before you strip back to this. And a good use of space like that. Beautiful. Less is more. A very consistent record too. The atmosphere and the sort of tone of the album, it all flows so easily from one to the next. It all feels very whole, very unique. Nothing out of place for sure. We may lean a little more to the hip hop sometimes. We may lean a little bit more to the funk, more to the soul. But it also feels very unified in sound. Great track. Oh my goodness. He has not missed so far. Let's go to the next one. Chicken Grease. I think this one might get a little funkier, perhaps, with a name like this. Maybe more hip-hop focus. The last one was so laid back. I'm expecting a much more upbeat track here. God, these drums throughout the album are so punchy. It really reminds me of what Dilla was doing. I think it's D'Angelo still doing these beats, and he's a really great producer. This is all him. Oh, we got Questlove as well. Well, that would make more sense. I can hear it in those drums. Certainly one of a kind, very unique, and very similar to that of Dilla. I like those yeahs. Very soulful. Ooh, here's that funk sound coming in that bass. A very funky instrument, perhaps the funkiest of them all. I love those claps. They got a nice clap, a nice kind of snap to them. Who would have thought a track named Chicken Grease would be so kind of sexual sounding? Just so smooth, so kind of grimy as well. That's a great one too. Man, these tracks have just been so consistently strong. I love the flow. I love the energy of the tracks. I love the entire atmosphere on this record. One more going. I think we're opening up with a bit of Dirty Dancing, perhaps, one may say. The funk on this record, perhaps more than anything, the funk prevails. Which is great. I wish we did more funk this month, but maybe we'll save it for another time. Much more focused this time around on the vocals. This girl's on his mind, despite all the differences. Still think about his woman here, or the woman. Perhaps she's been lost to him. He doesn't care. Still hung up on an old flame. Oh, such a groovy and sexual atmosphere here. Trying not to come across as desperate, but he's professing his love. This one's one of the best ones honestly. And I feel like they've all been so strong. I love the energy. I love the lyrics. And I love the nature of it, you know? Like a modern day Barry White. These instrumentals too. Super subtle, super like funky and just, again, super down tempo. I love it. Oh my goodness. Never mind. Catch me off guard with this upbeat outro, but still very funky. Oh. Wow. Changing the tempo up again. What a crazy outro that was, like a little mini track there. Love that. Let's go into the root. This woman has dug deep, perhaps. And D'Angelo here. Oh, he's going to the doctor for this pain and his heartache that can't be cured. Can't knock it. Can't move on. I love the effects he places on his vocals too. Very light, but certainly there. Oh. Some guitars being reversed there. It would sound like. It's like a whole solo or something being flipped around. Oh. Really adding to that funky sound. Oh my goodness. This instrumental is insane. Oh my god, we're getting kind of lo-fi now. Oh my god, it's gone. Got fuzz in the production, but just for a minute. This woman has torn his heart out, and he has not been the same since. Full of, well, devoid of feeling, completely empty. Perhaps at his lowest. The energy on this album is so confident, so low-key, such a groove, that it's really easy to kind of get lost in it. At 6 minutes, maybe a bit long, but the vibes are so strong, who cares, right? Let's go into Spanish Joint. Expecting a bit more of course, a Spanish flair to it. Those drums, that percussion, already feels more Spanish. Going down south. Oh, kind of a jazzy kind of focus on this one here too. Much more groovy, much more upbeat. Oh, still very Stevie Wonderish too. Tell me this couldn't fit on Songs in the Key of Life in a way, you know? The congas, Giovanni Hidalgo, along with Roy Hargrove's horns, again adding that Very South American Spanish flair. It's so unique. It's so infectious. A touch of salsa to it. It's super fun. You can't help but kind of move to it. You want to dance. You want to groove. I really love the Spanish flair on this one. Like, it's just so super infectious. Again, very jazzy too. I feel like D'Angelo could have done a full-blown jazz record if he really wanted to. And this track certainly showcases that. Wow. Smooth, clean, very jazzy. Shows all of D'Angelo's strengths. And also what he's capable of. Let's go to the next track here. 36 million streams. Feel like making love. Lots of clapping throughout this record so far. Yeah, funky guitar bird in the background there. Kind of reminded me of a Thundercat as well. I think it's that kind of thick bass. Oh, bit of a cutoff there. Very sexually charged album overall. Seems to be a consistent theme. Feels similar to that of Mama's Gun in terms of tone. Thematically very different. Very different goal in mind for sure when it comes to the lyrics. Ooh. I love the kind of overdubbing. Super funky sound of this one. And I love those horns coming in here. Little instrumental breaks. Very low-key cut, this one, I gotta say. A bit repetitive. But certainly sets a mood, sets a tone. And I can see this appearing on a lot of certain playlists. Maybe along with Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. A little bit of an outro here. Will it flow right into the next just like the rest? Not quite. Let's go into Great Day and Morning / Booty. A 7-minute track. Interesting, the shortest track on the LP so far. 4.5 minutes. Also kind of my the voice. Kind of like Anderson .Paak. Ooh. The percussion on this one. A little bit more flashy than the rest of the LP. That being Amir Thompson, who, as far as I could tell, has been the drums on every track. Could also be the addition of Questlove too, adding to that punch. The keys throughout the album too have been so subtle, but have sometimes really made up the DNA of the tracks. I think, if I'm not mistaken, D'Angelo himself is on those. Ooh. Oh, this was that a sample? Much more lo-fi, kind of rougher sound to this drum. It's got to be a sample. Very fuzzy. Similar to some of the other kind of nitpicks I've had with the other tracks on this album is again, maybe a bit too long, maybe a bit too prolonged. But it's certainly, again, this whole album just feels like it's more about the vibe, kind of riding out the atmosphere. Got a little psychedelic at the end here. Let's flow right into Untitled. How does it feel? Which is the most popular track by a landslide on here. 62 million streams. Heavy intro. Super well produced. Oh my goodness, that's very crisp. That guitar. So electric. I love this just an album full of slow jams, you know? Oh. And the piano as well is fantastic on this track. Gorgeous harmonizing. Has that 90s flair to it. Ooh. In sync guitar, but these lyrics. Probably the most sexually charged album we've covered on this channel. I feel like he channels Prince quite a bit throughout this album too. More so in the vocals at times. Oh my goodness. D'Angelo. Cool it there, buddy. Getting a little spicy. This percussion really has you holding on. Right on the edge of your seat. Ooh. Rising up. Wow, what an explosive harmony. Really belting it out in this outro. Could work for a final track. Oh, and that bass too. Being plucked away there. Kind of like a gospel touch on those vocals. That's it? It cuts off like that? It's just abrupt finish? Am I missing something here? There's no way. I think that's it. It just closes out. It's just it's a hard stop. Oh, the tape cuts off because the tape runs out. It was all recorded on tape. He wanted to keep going, but the tape cuts off, so it ends like that. When we were finishing overdubs, he assumed that we would just fade it down before it comes to a complete halt. But his producer, which I'm imagining his producer, said to leave it like that, taking influence from "I Want You, She's So Heavy" from the Beatles song. Makes sense. What a it really hits you hard with that finish. So abrupt, such a stark cutoff. And then we're going to go into Africa here to close out the LP. But that is easily the, I want to say, best track on the album, which is saying a lot because there's some incredible tracks on this thing. But the crescendo in that back half, so explosive. I like the shimmery open. It's really beautiful. So shimmery. Seems to be speaking on his descent. Got a bit of a kind of African flair with those percussions. Stranger in a strange land kind of tones there. Love the very unfiltered sort of percussion on this. Wonder if that's the drum sample from the Prince track. Perhaps a fatherly perspective on this track. Seems to be maybe the theme of the track. I love how shimmery this one is too. It's so sweet. So melodic. Such a pretty track to finish the album off with. On an album that is, for the most part, pretty pretty. But this one's so sweet, almost innocent in sound, unlike that last track, which was anything but innocent. But still, a gorgeous track nonetheless. I like how those beautiful shimmering guitars and keys giving way into this ambient focus of Africa, I would presume. And there it is. Let's get like 30 seconds here of filler. So if we kind of just like reverse the whole album there. A trope you've seen on a handful of albums for sure, where things close out and then it seems to quickly replay over or skitter over it. Not sure what it means in the context of the album. But that being said, this album is honestly so different from what I expected. Maybe I should have expected it given the cover. Seeing as this came out the same year as Mama's Gun, it definitely has a different goal in mind to that one. Mama's Gun feels like a tribute to like 60s, 70s soul that is much more upbeat, fun, and empowering, one would say, more political, one would say. Whereas Voodoo is certainly kind of honoring the more, I would say, sexual side of things, the more slow, kind of melodic R&B, and brings it up to a modern time that is very enjoyable, very rich, very textured, and very lengthy. It leads to a lot of lengthy tracks that feel like they are there for a vibe, for a good time, for a long time. My only gripe with this album is that given how lengthy some of these tracks are, some of them could definitely be trimmed down, and I wouldn't think it would do any damage to the album. And I think Great Day and Morning / Booty could have been put on as like a bonus track just to, make the album a little bit shorter given the fact that it is a pretty lengthy project. That being said, some of these tracks really justify their length and could have actually gone on even longer. Untitled, How Does It Feel, for example, is another great example. 7 minutes in length. Could have kept going, but I had that start cut off. Easily the best track here, too. Such a climactic finish, so bombastic, and so beautiful. Honestly, like, hands down the best track. But there's still some really great ones on here, like Spanish Joint, very jazzy. I think really teases just the more kind of complex capabilities of the instrumentals. Chicken Grease was really fun and enjoyable and catchy. And speaking of catchy tracks, you have plenty of like hip hop inspired tracks that really lean into Questlove sort of production, such as Devil's Pie or Left and Right with Redman and Method Man, of course. Just a ton of great tracks that honestly are super cohesive, great atmosphere, and at the end of the day, really pull together such a strong, beautiful vibe that is very atmospheric. Like I feel like these tracks all going on for almost 7 minutes each, roughly. If you were to average it out, probably closer to 6.5, but still, we'll round it to 7 and say, like, for the most part, they do justify their length. It's only the few here and there that I think could have been trimmed or could have been removed, such as track 11. But it's a fantastic record. It's definitely worth a listen. That does it for today's video, and that does it actually for Soul September. If you like Soul September and you're excited or interested in knowing what the next genre we're covering, we're going into Rocktober. That's right, we are kicking things off for the month of October with rock albums. And the first rock album that we're going to listen to is a rock album that I have somehow avoided all these years. Not intentionally so, it's just something that I never got around to, but I feel like it is one of the biggest rock albums to ever be named. And that, of course, being Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. So follow along and subscribe to listening to Dark Side of the Moon, which is going to be our next video in this monthly music series, where we kick off Rocktober, because we have a lot more rock albums to cover that are arguably just as big as Dark Side of the Moon. But, as always, my name is Rainy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.